war was declared in 1914, no one knew what lay ahead. Unknown and faraway places suddenly became familiar names and were the topic of conversation at every dinner table. War news and war work pervaded society. Eventually, the initial confidence and bravado of 1914 gave way to a sense of horror and helplessness as losses on the battlefields mounted with no end in sight. While we have decks upon the sea. Over the next 4 years, social structures and family dynamics changed dramatically. Young men and women grew up quickly, and the world was forever changed. Union Station was the scene of many poignant farewells. 4 families, 1 war is an intimate glimpse into those years through the eyes and voices of 4 Toronto families whose sons, brothers, and husbands fought in the Great War and whose wives, mothers, and sisters kept the home fires burning. Although we can never fully reconstruct their lives, loves, and losses, these found voices reveal the anxiety and the fear beneath a brave and cheerful front.
August 8th, 1914. Dear Rockford, the excitement here has been tremendous. Father has been downtown every night and the house is full of extras. We will have sent you a lot of papers and hope you will get them and let you know that all Europe is at war. The Germans seem to be getting the worst of it, but the Emperor brought it on. People are laying in supplies of provisions everywhere as the war prices are beginning. We have a barrel of flour, a supply of sugar and tea and soup tablets, etc., as we fear the want will be bad later on and we will want something to help with. August 15th, 1914. We've not heard yet much about the British Army or fleet. They have forbidden the publication of war items in England, so to us the Germans are still getting the worst of it. A great many men have left, in Halifax, Quebec, and some are protecting the Welland Canal and St. Lawrence. Only veterans are to be taken on the first contingent, and we hope and pray the war will soon be over and no others needed. There are hundreds of applications every day, and I suppose with the prospect of so many being thrown out of work, the sum $1 a day is better than nothing. Every soldier gets that.
Edward Rockford Grange, born 1892, was the eldest son of a prominent academic family. When war broke out, he had just completed his degree in civil engineering. He quickly returned home to Toronto, completed his aviation training, and signed on with the British Royal Naval Air Service. Rockford served as a pilot until 1916, when he was transferred to the Canadian Air Force, becoming one of Canada's first flying aces. Maynard Grange was Rockford's younger sister, who at the beginning of the war had not yet made plans for her future. Her letters to Rockford include an almost daily account of life on the home front, buoyant with news and best wishes. Her ever-present anxiety was reserved for her personal journals. Rockford treasured these letters from home, carried them with him throughout the war, and preserved them for posterity. Mabel Adamson was from a wealthy and well-connected family in Toronto. Her husband, Agar, was a veteran of the South African War. By 1914, they were established in Toronto with their 2 young sons. When war broke out, Agar was 48 years old and nearly blind in one eye, but he eagerly joined the first contingent of the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. The Battle of Saint-Julien in Belgium marked the first major poison gas attack on Allied forces. Agar Adamson fought at Saint-Julien, soon after receiving the Distinguished Service Order for bravery. Like many women from her social circle, Mabel followed her husband overseas and was based in London during the war years. Active in relieving the dire plight of the Belgian people, she funded and helped run an orphanage for displaced children and was active in the leadership of 2 Canadian-based charities, the Belgian Soldiers Fund and the Belgian Canal Boat Fund, which floated food, clothing, and supplies to refugees behind enemy lines. Agar saw action at Fresenberg, Sanctuary Wood, Ypres, Bellewaerde, and Passchendaele. As a senior officer, his letters were not censored by anyone, and they provide a frank and a chilling account of the front. Mabel was well aware of the tragedies in the trenches, and also received first-hand accounts of the deprivation of the civilians behind enemy lines. When the war started, Norman A. Keyes was just about to embark on a career as a lawyer and start a family. But the Great War intervened. Immediately upon graduation from the University of Toronto, he enlisted as a private, reinforcing the Princess Patricias, and leaving behind his fiancée, Lily Denton. The Keyes family were very close, and their correspondence throughout the war is full of family gossip and daily news. Norman fought in the trenches in France, writing regularly to Lily, to his mother, and to his younger sister, Erskine, always careful to spare them any concern. Worried that the letters from home would fall into enemy hands, Norman burned them, but his own letters contain a running dialogue of life on the home front.
January 11th, 1916. All around, George is playing music which is peculiarly soothing to our ears, but probably the reverse to Fritz. At night, we sent up working parties to the rear of the line where, under the supervision of the engineers, the interminable task of making our line more and more impregnable is carried on. We are all fast becoming experts at hanging barbed wire. My experience at this work will stand me in good stead when Lil and I buy the small farm of the future. The only trouble will be in curbing an unholy desire to dig ditches in every conceivable point of vantage and to erect huge sandbag parapets behind the house and shelters to take refuge in against shelling. Dear old peaceful Canada, I hope her soil is never desecrated with real war. June 16th, 1916. Now on to the nature of my wounds, for I was hit 3 times. The first was a splinter of shrapnel which located itself immediately below the left eye and must have cut some gland, for my eye shed water and matter for 4 days. It was just a small triangular cut and is now completely healed. The second was quite a heavy bit of shrapnel which fell on my thumb and first finger of the right hand, and raised blood and blisters and numbed the circulation for a few hours. It was okay in a day. The third was a rifle grenade which hit the right side of my head below the shrapnel helmet, which I fancy broke the force of the explosion and saved my life.
Norman maintained a brave front for his family throughout the war. His early letters were full of plans for the future, but toward the end they became darker as he worried about what had become of the world as he knew it. And the Canadian casualty lists were growing. For many months, Canadian troops have been stationed near Ypres, defending the last few kilometers of unoccupied Belgium. Donald Fraser graduated from medical school at the University of Toronto in 1915 and joined the Royal Army Medical Corps, serving in Egypt and France. During the Battle of the Somme, he was responsible for evacuating the dead and wounded from the battlefield. A captain, he was awarded the Military Cross for bravery in the field on July 2nd, 1916. The Frasers were an academic family. His grandparents were German, and the entire family was fluent in German. In spite of their Germanic roots, there was no question of their support for the British and Allied forces. The letters of Donald's mother, Helene, and his sister, Frida, describe their active Red Cross work to raise funds and support the war effort.
3 of your letters came almost at the same time, just a day between. The one written last came first, so we heard you were ill and on the way to recovery at the same time. Dear lad, how I wish I could have you at Highfields and nurse you. I know my duty is here just now, here where my work is for the present, but you don't know how restless I feel. Why should I have to stay home? My life is not worth half as much as yours. We all ask ourselves, why? When Well, dear, we must be patient, leave all in God's hand, and all will be well. I shall never cease to pray for you and every mother's son.
Much of the Great War was fought in a series of defensive trenches that stretched from Switzerland to Belgium. During the war, over 400,000 Canadian soldiers fought in the trenches on the Western Front. Canadians on the home front did their bit, fundraising, farming, volunteering, knitting socks, conserving food, and recycling. On August 29, 1917, conscription became law in Canada. In November 1917, Canadian war bonds were renamed Victory Bonds, anticipating post-war prosperity and an industrial future. Although hostilities officially ended on November 11, 1918, the Victory Bond campaign continued with the aim of raising money for the rehabilitation of wounded soldiers. Canadian soldiers returned from overseas in 1919 to a very different country from the one they had left. After the war, many organizations published rules of honor, committing to history the names of the brave men who served in the Great War. Rockford Grange was credited with shooting down 5 enemy aircraft. In 1916, he was awarded both the French Croix de Guerre and the British Distinguished Service Cross for his bravery in battle. He remained active in the aviation field. During World War II, he worked with the civilian arm of the Royal Canadian Air Force as an inspector. Like many women during this era, his sister Maynard never married. She worked as a secretary for many years in Toronto. During the Second World War, she again held up the home front, knitting socks, writing letters, and supporting soldiers and sailors overseas. Agar Adamson was wounded in the Battle of Fraser in May 1915. He assumed command of the regiment in the Battle of Sanctuary Wood and obtained the rank of lieutenant colonel, receiving the Distinguished Service Order for bravery during the Battle of Bellewaerde. Agar suffered from shell shock and resigned his commission in 1918, following a period of hospitalization. He never recovered. Mabel Adamson was awarded the Médaille de Reine Elizabeth by the Belgian government in recognition for her wartime services. Following the war, she and Agar returned to Canada. She was an accomplished artist before and after the war. Norman Keyes returned to Canada after being discharged from active service due to wounds, and he married his sweetheart, Lily Denton, in February 1918. Lily Denton began nursing training at the Sanford Fleming Military Hospital, where she contracted Spanish influenza during the 1918 epidemic. She died on September 28, 1918, and was recognized as one of Canada's war dead. After studying at the Ontario College of Art and the University of Toronto, Norman's sister, Erskine, became a social worker with the Toronto Children's Aid Society from 1929 until 1954. Donald Fraser returned to Canada after the war, and he and his sister Frida both became professors in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Toronto, specializing in bacteriology. Frida's life partner was Dr. Edith Bickerton Williams, known as Bud, who was one of the first women in North America to qualify as a veterinarian.
Again, hurrah, hurrah, sweet peace along with them they'll bring. Then of course the Kaiser will to sing the Marseillaise and God save the King when the terriers all come home. When Tommy comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. When Tommy comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. The Germans will have received the shock. That Kaiser of theirs will take the knock, and the pot won't shut at 10 o'clock when Tommy comes marching home.